The city of Washougal is a rapidly growing community that is estimated to grow to a population of nearly 25,000 persons by the year 2045. In order to plan for future growth and comply with Washington State's Growth Management Act, GMA, the city of Washougal is updating their comprehensive plan and capital facilities plans by the end of 2025. The City of Washougal will adopt new and revised regulations that will plan for and accommodate projected growth and ensure that there are adequate resources and services to meet the needs of the community. We call this effort Onward Washougal 2045. As we look ahead to 2045, we are planning for a city that will grow by nearly 7,000 new residents, requiring over 3,700 new housing units and space for a range of 2,100 to 2,520 new jobs. To meet this demand, we are evaluating land use alternatives that will shape the future of Washougal's neighborhoods, commercial areas, businesses, and public spaces. These land use alternatives reflect varying levels of density, mixed-use development, and preservation of open spaces. Each alternative considers housing regulations and zoning strategies to accommodate this growth. Today, we will explore two land use alternatives in this presentation. Before we begin, there are a few terms we want to define as we share these land use alternatives. A land use alternative is a scenario that outlines different ways Washougal's land can be developed or preserved via zoning to guide future growth and planning decisions. Zoning refers to how land is designated for different uses within the city. It regulates what types of buildings and activities are allowed in specific areas, such as residential, commercial, industrial, or mixed-use development. Commercial districts are zoned primarily for businesses such as retail, stores, offices, restaurants, and other economic activity. It may also include some high-density housing. Town center districts are typically central, walkable areas designed for mixed-use development, meaning a combination of housing, offices, retail, and services. Apartment residential AR zone lands refer to designated multifamily housing, including apartments, townhomes, and other high-density residential types. ADU stands for accessory dwelling unit, referring to smaller secondary housing units on the same lot as a primary home. Middle housing includes residential housing types that fall between single-family homes and large apartment buildings. Examples include duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, townhomes, and cottage clusters. AMI, area median income, is a key metric used in housing policy and planning. It represents the midpoint of household incomes in a specific geographic area, meaning half the households earn more than the AMI and half earn less. Now, let's take a closer look at the two options under consideration. Land Use Alternative 1 focuses on implementing Northeast and Northwest urban growth area sub-area zoning plans while maintaining existing zoning within the city limits. This is made possible by leveraging state regulations on middle housing and accessory dwelling units, ADUs, which allow for increased housing capacity without the need for rezoning. Where there was one space for a single home, there can now be two or more depending on lot size. In addition, this alternative assumes a mix of residential and commercial uses in key areas. In the town center, the current split is planned at 60% residential and 40% commercial, prioritizing housing in vacant areas. Meanwhile, commercial districts maintain a balanced 50-50 split between business and residential development. Another important consideration is the adjustment in industrial zoning in the southeast port area, just outside the city limits. The zoning has been adjusted to ensure industrial land is located to the west of the new levee alignment near the Steigerwald Lake National Wildlife Refuge. Overall, this alternative is expected to accommodate approximately 5,998 new housing units, with 40% designated for households earning below 80% of the area median income as required by the state of Washington. It can also accommodate approximately 1,622 new jobs. Alternative 2 largely mirrors Alternative 1, but introduces a key change. The northeast section is now planned as a commercial and residential hub. This adjustment designates AR zoned land, Washougal's existing multifamily residential designation, to support both medium and high density housing. By shifting more residential capacity to the northeast, this alternative reduces the need for multifamily housing in the town center and commercial areas, allowing those districts to focus more on employment growth. Compared to Alternative 1, which prioritizes housing in the town center, this approach places a greater emphasis on jobs in central areas with the following split. Town center, 40% residential, 60% employment. Commercial districts, 25% residential, 75% employment. Like Alternative 1, this scenario allows for middle housing and accessory dwelling units, ADUs, in residential zones, aligning with state requirements that permit at least 2 units per lot. Overall, Alternative 2 is expected to accommodate approximately 6,484 new housing units, with 34% designated for households earning below 80% AMI, and accommodate approximately 2,007 new jobs. The land use capacity assumptions are the behind-the-scenes calculations that shape each alternative. These estimates help determine how much housing and employment Washougal can accommodate and highlight the differences in zoning density assumptions in residential zones. Both alternatives reflect the impacts of middle housing and ADU legislation, which increases residential capacity by allowing more units per lot. They also factor in expected development patterns, balancing the need for housing, commercial space, and job growth. Your input is important as we advance these two land use alternatives through this planning process. We encourage residents to provide comments via email, our online comment form, or by filling out a comment card at City Hall. The city will be collecting feedback from the public through Wednesday, March 12th. Once input is collected, city staff will review comments and may adjust the alternatives if warranted.